The Gann Fan and Fibonacci Indicator, which is offered for various platforms on the TradingFinder website. From this section, you can download the indicator file for MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5 platforms, so you can download it and run it on the chart. Also, traders can learn about how it works and operates. They can refer to this page for the indicator. From the Navigator section, we select the indicator file and run the indicator by dragging the file onto the chart. Once the indicator is running on the chart, it starts identifying and drawing Fibonacci levels and Gann angles on the price chart. This is the Gann Fan indicator. Fibonacci is an advanced and practical tool that, by combining the classical style theory of Gann angles and Fibonacci retracement levels, gives us the ability to identify sensitive price and time zones within the market. Instead of using price data, this indicator focuses on the dynamic relationship between time and price. It evaluates them in the form of Gann's geometric angles and Fibonacci ratios, allowing us to conduct more specialized analyses on the chart using the drawn levels and chart review. The combination of Gann angles and Fibonacci retracement levels shows us key areas of support, resistance, and price reversal. Using Gann angles that indicate the relationship between price and time, which are clearly drawn for us as distinct lines, we can then, with careful consideration, analyze the ranges within which the price moves, and Fibonacci levels, which as horizontal lines show us possible points of correction or trend continuation, are displayed for us here. With the overlap of these two factors, the likelihood of a price reaction in that area increases, and they are suitable zones for entering trades in the market. Here we see that by running the indicator on the chart, it automatically identifies the highs and the price lows and starts drawing Fibonacci levels and Gann Fan on the price chart. We can view the Fibonacci ratios in this section and the Gann Fan ratios here. For example, if the price experiences a significant reversal, we can effectively use the established Gann Fan levels or the precise Fibonacci levels to either enter a new trade or as crucial price reaction levels. However, the most optimal points are invariably those specific instances where overlaps precisely occur. We can see that in the past we can use this point as an example. The price moved upward and hit a Gann Fan level, which is considered as the 38.2 level as well as the 50% level. It hit the Fibonacci level, after which the price moved downward, but this ratio was based on this section. We should wait for the price to move upward, and the best points we can consider are the levels where the Gann Fan aligns with the Fibonacci. For example, the Gann Fan level here is 61.8 and the Fibonacci level is also 61.8. Here it is shown that this can be a powerful point in the market, or the 50% Gann Fan level and the 50% Fibonacci retracement level. If the price returns to any of these areas, we can use them as entry points for trades, or the 38.2 level as Fibonacci and the Gann Fan level as 38.2, which is an acceptable point for the price to reverse from this area. In the settings section under inputs, there are options available to us, and in the first part we can set the standard settings for the zigzag lines, based on which the indicator draws the Fibonacci levels and the Gann Fan for us. The first input is related to the zigzag depth. The second input is related to the zigzag deviation, and in the third input, we can set the zigzag line's backstep value. In this maximum bar section, which refers to the maximum number of candles used for identification and analysis performed on the chart, we can adjust it here. The higher we set this value, the pivots identified on the chart will correspond to longer-term periods. They will identify longer Fibonacci ratios for us, and the lower we set the value, the pivots that are identified and the ratios that are drawn will correspond to shorter-term periods. In the next section, we can adjust the settings related to Fibonacci retracement. Here, first we can enable or disable the display of Fibonacci levels. By default, this option is enabled, and if I disable it, you can see that the Fibonacci levels are turned off. In the next section, we can customize the drawing style of the Fibonacci levels as we like. You can choose from 5 styles: solid, dash, dot, dash, dot, and dot, dot, which are available here. We can set it, and by default, it's set to the solid style. In the next section, we can choose the color of the Fibonacci levels as we wish. We can also set the thickness of these levels as desired, and finally at the bottom we can add or remove Fibonacci ratios as needed. We can set the desired ratios, which are based on the levels of 38.2, 50%, 61.8, and so on. And finally, 100% is also set, and the values are based on these levels. But we can choose these values as we wish and as needed. In the next section, if needed, we can add more Fibonacci levels. We set this option to true, so if I activate this option, the indicator will draw more Fibonacci ratio levels for us. These are based on 14.6, 23.6, 76.4, 88.6, and finally 127.2. They're located here, and we can also change these values as desired and if needed. In this last input of this section, we can also enable or disable the display of the price at each Fibonacci level, which is disabled by default. If I enable this option, in this section, we can see the price levels for the Fibonacci ratios. In the next section, we can also adjust the settings related to the fan section here. In this first input, we can enable or disable the display of the fan levels. If I set this option to false, it will not display these levels for me. It won't show them. In this next input, I can change the fan color to any color I want. I can choose the drawing style as I like, which by default is set to solid. I can easily select the precise drawing size, and finally, I can fully customize the fan levels exactly as I wish, which by default is based on a foundational level of 38.2, an intermediate level of 50, and a higher level of 61.8. These values are set here. They are determined based on this, but we can change the values as we wish, and if needed, we can activate the next input and add other levels as well, which will be displayed for the fan, which includes 14.6, 23.6, and finally 726.4. These particular values are already set, and we can also readily adjust them precisely as we wish. By enabling this specific section, you will clearly see that the overall number of fans significantly increases for us. Alright, my dear friends, we've reached the end of this indicator tutorial. We'd be happy if you share your comments and suggestions with us in the comments section.